Thank you. Next, we have a few announcements, starting with executive session held on May 6, 2025 to discuss legal matters. We have two public hearings on tomorrow, May 22 at 6:30 p.m. First one to amend the code of the Borough of Westchester, Chapter 62, titled Garbage, Rubbish, and Refuse, to amend Section 62.1 to add definitions of dwelling unit and tote. Section 62.3 to amend certain disposal regulations that apply to public and private collection. Section 62.4 to amend certain public collection regulations. Section 62.8 to amend certain private collection regulations. Section 62.9 to reference totes, trash cans, and dumpsters. Section 62.11 to revise the regulations for dumpsters, and Section 62.12 to require containers used for recycling to be stored in the same locations as totes and dumpsters. Our second public hearing is to amend the Code of Borough of Westchester, Chapter 97, titled Subdivision and Land Development, to amend Section 97.8, titled Terms Defined, to add a definition of Borough Historic Architect, and to amend Section 97.13 to add a new subsection 97.13A4E to require review by the Borough Historic Architect for preliminary subdivision and land development plans that propose buildings or structures with heights permitted in the HO 60 or HO 75 height option overlay districts. As always, for the further details, visit the Borough website under monthly government meetings. Next, we'll move on to comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items that are not on the agenda.
Good evening, Tom Walsh, 318 West Minor, Chair of the Historical Commission. This year, of course, is the Lafayette Memorial. He will be coming to Westchester on July 26th. On yesterday, 200 years ago, he was in Cincinnati and embarked and was on his way today, 200 years ago, to Wheeling, West Virginia. In addition, we are working on 3 events for that day on the 26th. One of them involves some blockages and so on, and we've entered stuff in the portal and so on. I sent out a material earlier today. I'm hoping that under new business, that event could be conditionally approved, so only that we can continue working on it, modify it, change it, drop it, and find a more suitable event to replace that one. And I'll stick around, and if that comes up, I hope on new business, I hope that we could go forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? Keith Karowski, Director of Parks and Recreation. Just in response to Tom's request, I saw the email came through earlier. I did speak with police. I didn't get a chance to speak with Public Works about the event, but estimated costs for the event for the borough would be approximately $68.36 based on police and Public Works, OT, and an estimate of parking, just to give you an idea moving forward. So approximately $7,000 for the parade.
Pete, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, because I didn't read the note, and what is the event and when is it happening?
If I'm not mistaken, it's July 26th. It's a parade in honor of Lafayette's return to the borough of Westchester. It would start at the historic courthouse steps, involve road closures that takes it down High Street to Lafayette. I don't remember the exact roads, but eventually back over to Marshall Square Park. The police, Sergeant Malicki sent me a notice saying that it would take 11 officers. We're looking at approximately $129 per officer for about 4 hours. The cost for police would be $56.76. One Public Works crew at minimum, three staffers, 2 staffers, 1 supervisor at $55 an hour for 4 hours. is 660. And then estimated cost from parking, I just threw in a number of 500. So we're looking at approximately $7,000. And then obviously the liability of the event, anything that takes place, is being asked to be put upon the borough as well. So we started reviewing the special event application, but the police said we're not going to review it any further until council gives their approval or committal to the event.
Yeah, but the request that came through is that the borough pays for this?
The historical commission is asking that the borough assume the liability and the cost for the event.
So that's the big question, like whether or not just an event for us to approve, it's that the historic commission wants us to pay $7,000 plus for it.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. President, are we discussing this now or
Now,
what are you
we can
doing?
comment and withdrawal based on, I did not have that number. That's what we were trying to do, come up with a number and see where we would go on that. So on that basis, unless the council wanted to spend the money and we could do some modifications, but otherwise, I would withdraw the request that be approved, and we will try and sit down with the appropriate departments and work on something simpler that would be less costly or no cost, and so on. So that hopefully will answer your questions. But if you're free and you want to modify, we could go forward with that event. Thank you.
Normally, we don't comment on things that are not on the agenda, but to put it out there, we do have money in boards and commissions, and they are the Historic Commission of the borough. And I think each Barb, please help me, I think each board gets roughly about $5,000. Is that what it is? For doing their projects? Yeah, so we have $12,000 sitting there in boards and commissions, and none of the other commissions have used any of the money. So if we want to do it, the money's there and it won't break the budget.
I suggest we just bring this up under other business.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
further
So you
discussion.
know that moving forward that we can fund it through boards and
But
commissions.
that's not 12,000, excuse me, President, that's not 12,000 for just one commission now. That's a total figure, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a total figure, 12,000. Yeah.
Not just for the historical commission now.
No.
It's spread out.
Yeah.
So we
spread out.
can't use it all for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but let's discuss this under item 8, other business. Are there any other comments, suggestions, petitions by residents? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to reports and presentations, which there are none. Old business, motion to approve the April 15 and April 16, 2025 Borough Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Good.
Okay,
Consent.
all agreed. I think we can move that to consent, please. All right, new business. Administration, Communication, and Technology Committee.
Yeah, the first item here is the motion to approve the 15-year sublease. We talked about this. This is between 4 states, Railway, and the borough, that was contingent on the new 15-year lease from SEPTA to the borough. That has come back. The committee approved this motion 3-0. We would like to put this on the consent agenda.
Any comments? Questions? Any public comment or questions? Okay, sounds like we're all in agreement. Move that to consent, please.
Okay, next item under new business, item number 2, motion to approve draft amendments for Chapter 54, Chapter 72, Chapter 82, relative to license requirements for electric, mechanical, plumbing contractors who perform work in the borough, and add, we schedule a public hearing for June 18th, 2025. This was to, the motion was to approve some new language that corrected sort of a bit of a misnomer or an error that was caught by our Borough Council President. So the committee recommendation was to move this language in, have the hearing, recommendation 3-0 to put it on the consent agenda.
Any questions, comments? Any public comments? Okay, we'll move that to consent, please. Move on to the parking committee. Yeah, I sat in for Sheila at the parking committee, so we'll take these. First item, motion to modify the monthly parking hours for daily parkers from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The issue being monthly parking for the daytime hours extend far into the evening and should be closer to work hours. Anyone need extra time in the borough can use the 24/7 rate. This was a committee recommendation of 3-0. Comments or questions?
So it's just for the garages, not the.
Yes, correct, just for the garages. Any public comment? Okay, we'll move that to consent, please. Next, motion to award the bid for the garage membrane project to construction group CPS in the amount of $167,700 for the bicentennial garage third level. This is a bid for the garage membrane at the garage, and the amount that we mentioned. It's a capital budget amount from 285,000 carried over from 2024. Questions? Public questions? All right, we'll move that to consent. Move on to Public Works.
Evening. Motion to modify, wrong one. Motion to award the bid. Wrong. Let's go down to this one. Senior moment again, sorry. Nicole. I need the Snickers. I'm sorry. Yeah, I need the Snickers. All right, Public Works Committee. Mr. Anderson, I'm awake now. Thank you. Motion to approve 2025 Household Hazardous Waste Program with Chester County Solid Waste Authority. This is a program that we participate in quite a few years, and support for the program to continue estimated proportionated shares for 3 years. It's a 3-year contract, and we've done this in the past.
Any
Any
comments, questions?
Anything from public? Good.
All right, we will move that to consent, please.
Number 2, motion to approve a grant resolution for DCED Greenways, Trails, and Recreation in the support of the future of John O. Green Park projects. The borough will apply for the maximum award of $250,000. The grant is 85% funded by DCED and Act 13, and at least 15% locally.
Comments or questions? Public comment? Okay, we will move that to consent, please.
Number 3, motion to approve grant resolution for People, Parks, and Community Foundations for John O. Green Splash and Pad Rehabilitation. The borough will be applying for a maximum award of $30,000 with no match required.
Comments or questions?
When do we hope to get an answer for these 2 grants?
The People, Parks, and Communities grant announcement is supposed to be this fall, September, but we won't get the DCED award announcement probably until Q1 of 2026. Q1 of 2026. Sure.
Thank you.
All right, and the last item, number 4, motion to deny all bids for the Gay Street closure infrastructure, considering other options regarding the bid for the Gay Street closure infrastructure.
I think maybe this could use a little bit of background for public who weren't at the meeting. Just it's a big topic, so.
Yes, it's a very, very large topic. We had 3 bidders, and what happened was the bids came in much higher than our budgeted money of $973,000. They came in at 1.4 million, close to $1.5 million. The problem was that the manufacturer of the Ballard system that we were looking at is manufactured in the UK. And they pretty much doubled the price of the equipment. So that put it out of reach. And at which time we've asked the borough manager to talk to our borough engineer, RVE, to look at other options or to modify the usage of the product that's manufactured in the UK. I do. I didn't even have a Snickers bar.
Yeah, that was great. We bid a project. We got some results back in that are way more expensive than we thought they would be. So you can award the bid or reject the bid. And we recommend you reject the bid because we think it's not responsible to spend an extra 40%. And then to rebid, as Bernie suggested, we're pushing our engineer on this project, Remington Vernick, to explore some other closure options that could be cheaper. And then the other option, which you didn't mention, Bernie, which I don't recommend either, but I'll mention it for everyone's benefit. We could go with the Matador system in this bid, but just reduce the scope to where we could afford it. But again, we think at the end of the day, just chopping something up into 3 or 4 pieces still doesn't change the fact we're spending 40% more for it, and it takes longer for us to reach where we want to get to.
And we actually even looked into the possibility of buying all the materials direct from the manufacturer instead of paying, because even the installer mentioned that the markup because they have to borrow the money to pay in advance the materials. So I said, why don't we buy the materials direct? So we'll save the markup and the carrying charges there. And also, since we're non-taxable, we would save the sales tax on anything across the board. And that still didn't get it down below $1 million. So it just didn't work. So, but Kelly was coming up, well, but as soon as Mr. Metric tells her it's okay to start looking at using the Matador system along with other items, implementations to get the project done.
So I just, the one question, Sean, I asked you this question when you brought it up last week. Because the product was manufactured in the UK, as we know, there were some trade wars brewing, tariffs, et cetera, that were, talked down about the same time that we got the bid or slightly after the time we got the bid. Have we gone back and asked the question that now that these conversations have at least tamped down for this period of time, that maybe were those costs increased as a mitigation to whatever other things were going on, and that maybe they might not be as bad if we talk about it now?
Yeah, what happened there is Kelly from RVE is waiting for, well, I guess Mr. Metric's waiting for us to deny the bids tonight and then direct them to do an investigation, whether, to your point, whether the force majeure was done prematurely by the UK company and whether they have actually lowered down the products where they should be. But Kelly would do that after permission to move forward.
Because I believe, like, I don't know, whatever, 6 months ago or whatever, when we first started exploring it, the costs were lower. It's that they went up, and that our budget was based off of that initial cost assessment. So there's something.
Yeah, we won't know that until we deny the bids tonight. And it's not going to change, it may change their pricing based on Kelly reaching back out to the local distributor. But I'm sure we're not dealing directly with people in the UK. I'm sure they have a United States subsidiary and see if they're more flexible. If not, as I mentioned to Mr. Edwards and Mr. Metric, we could probably use the Matador system, a portion of it, like $400,000 in material in the high impact areas and use removable ballards. The public works could put in and take out in 5 or 10 minutes each ballard, and that would bring it closer to $1 million. So we'd probably be $30,000 over that budget that we were going to have. So once we deny it tonight, Mr. Metric will probably give Kelly the go ahead to start figuring out what to do.
And ultimately, our schedule is based on what the grant allows us to do, which is the end of 27. Is that correct? Or since we continue to move forward, we don't have to worry about that clock?
We will inform the grantor, which is the county in this instance, that because they need quarterly updates. They're going to get this information from us that we bid it a second time and didn't award it, assuming that's where council goes with this. The dollars have to be spent before the end of 2026 because it's funding tied to the American Rescue Plan Act. I'm confident that if we move on the grant specs, we can get it out in the wild again within 30 days, have a 30-day bid cycle and be back here in 2 months, hopefully awarding a bid. And at the May, I attended the Business Improvement District meeting in May, and the board there all recommends that we think about starting the project second week in January as an ideal time. And I think the timing works out real good that if we started at that point, it could be in place for next year's closure, and we could be on to phase 2 by then.
Yeah,
At least the design and bid of phase 2 by then.
the big question that Kelly's going to have to ask the local representative from the company is how much lead time, because it could take up to 6 months for us to get the material, from the UK here in a container. So I don't know how much they stock here in the United States. So
My question is, if the costs are going to still be the same, then what's the plan B?
Plan B is to, instead of purchasing this particular proprietary system called Matador from a company in United Kingdom, that we put the bid out to bidders and say, you can choose the Matador system if you want, or you can choose one of these 4 or 5 or 6 other options that we've researched that we know have similar lead times, meet our specifications of crash resistance and ease of install, look nice, things, other types of systems that we've vetted. And hopefully get a lower bid, because maybe someone will choose, instead of the Matador system, they'll choose, I don't know what the other names are, but they'll choose another system and we'll get a lower bid.
it's still going to be at the RCO level. So that won't be a
Yeah,
problem.
but my thing is overall what costs. Costs normally don't come down unless there's some type of crisis.
Could I ask why the Matador, did they not have the option at this point to do something other than the Matador that wasn't equal?
Correct. The bid as published first and second time specified specifically to use this system manufactured by this manufacturer called Matador. And the pricing, our engineer thought the pricing was about $225 an intersection in October. And then we got bids in that you saw at $345 and $350. So it's 6 months later.
Any other questions?
So the recommendation is for us to reject the bid and then move forward with RVE redesigning using the Matador system and or another system, or in conjunction of both.
Any public comments? Okay, are we all in agreement to reject the bid? All right, we'll move that to consent, please. And we will move on to finance and revenue.
Motion to approve grant resolution DCED flood mitigation program. That was a presentation by Will Williams. Is Will here? There he is. Will, do you want to come up and just briefly talk about it? Thank you.
Sure. Good evening. So this is a $500,000 grant ask to DCED. This is to continue our efforts to reline brick storm sewers, which are aging piece of our infrastructure. When you put a PVC liner in, it buys many, many decades of future use for a fraction of the cost of replacing it. So when looking at these, it was the most cost-effective option, which is what the grantors want to hear. We did update the name of the project, which is on the grant resolution, to try to make it sound a little more fun. And similarly to the other DCED application, submit this May 31st, which is a Saturday, which means we'll submit it May 30th at the latest. And we won't hear until first quarter next year. But phase 1, which was funded last year to the tune of $200,000, we hope to do later this year.
Any questions on this fun project? Okay, any public comment? Thank you. We'll move that to consent, please.
Motion to approve grant resolution DCED Greenways, Trails, and Recreation in support of future John O. Green Park projects. This was a 3-0 decision.
This is an item that came up under Public Works, I guess. Any questions, comments?
Didn't change my mind some 5 minutes ago. so I'm good.
Okay. Any further public comment? Great. Move that to consent, please.
Item 3, motion to approve a grant resolution for People, Parks, and Community Foundation for John O. Green Splash Pad Rehabilitation. This is 3-0. Just repeating ourselves again.
All right.
Well,
All right.
that, the reason why we're doing it, Mr. McGinnis, is because the Finance Committee wanted to see everything that the Public Works Committee was
That's
approving.
Exactly
That's your
right.
fault.
Exactly right.
Thank you.
Exactly
Take the blame on that one.
right. You got it.
Anybody change their mind about a question on this from the public? Thank you. We'll move that to consent, please.
Item 4, motion to approve budget modification number 4, grant funding expenses for hoses for the fire department. 3-0.
Questions or comments? Public comment? Okay, we move that to consent, please.
Motion to approve the following purchasing requests because they're over $10,000. Big Belly Solar, $11,976. Muni billing, $18,014.40. Univar, $12,709.50. USALCO, $12,835.20. Watch Keep for $17,950.26. Good Fellowship Club of Chester County, $86,763.21. And MES, $29,968.75. That was a 3-0 decision for items A through G.
Any questions or comments, council? Any public comment? Okay, we'll move that to consent, please, and move on to public safety.
All right, I'm filling in for Lisa Dorsey this evening. We have 2 items. First one is motion to appoint Borough Manager and Chair of Public Safety Committee of Borough Council to serve on Good Fellowship Ambulance Company Municipal Advisory Board. So the Good Fellowship is creating an advisory board, no cost to us. They're just asking for representation from the borough and other municipalities surrounding them. And we felt that the borough manager and the chair of the Public Safety Committee would be the best individuals to attend as the representatives.
Questions or
3-0.
comments?
I got a question. Is there a term? Is there a term limit in terms of serving on the board, or is it just indefinite?
Yeah, I'd assume not, because Lisa's the chair and we know she's rolling.
There'll be a
off.
new chair.
Yeah.
That's
so,
why, part of why I was asking.
Yeah, so we probably
Yeah.
just appoint whenever.
Well, it does state not the chair, but a member of the committee.
We have chair in the regular font, and then I think the member is in the,
Yeah, I think we decided when we were discussing that it should be a member of the Public Safety Committee. But I mean,
Yeah.
whatever, it could be the
We-
chair. It doesn't matter to me.
we'll talk amongst ourselves one more time, Bernie,
Yeah.
Lisa, myself, and we'll make sure, but yeah, and we'll figure out who can represent with, you, Sean. I know Lisa's out tonight, so we'll connect with her and give you a final name. But I think the idea is, though, we will appoint a person, and then to your point, yeah, someone from the Public Safety Committee.
So
Yeah, sounds great. And it's not a mix of this year or.
right, yeah. Any public comment? Okay.
All right, so then, two special event applications. Downtown Westchester Up on the Roof fundraiser that will be happening on September 13th, 2025. This is a yearly event. We've been having it for many, many years. And so just for 2025. And the Downtown Westchester Turkey Trot 5K. This would be our second year for the Westchester Turkey Trot. And it would be on November 27th, Thanksgiving. And on a very sunny day. That was the proposal, yeah. But we approved these 3-0. We recommend them 3-0.
Comments or questions? Public comment? Okay, we'll move that to consent, please, and move on to smart growth.
Okay, so smart growth, motion to approve HARB certificate of appropriateness. And this is for the Westchester Seafood Kitchen. They would like to put up some outside seating and a barrier that supports this within our regulations. So HARB approved this and we recommend it 3-0. Bernie really liked the pictures. He was able to see his pictures.
Yeah, well, that's not
Misidentified
indicative,
Paul.
that's not indicative of what, I couldn't figure out what the heck that was. But then they showed us very large pictures of, basically fencing going around the perimeter of the property, just to define their site. And the fencing's really nice and it's all wrought iron and I believe it's temporary, you know, right? Or is it-
Wasn't there a discussion to make it permanent?
I don't know. See, I don't know that.
I thought it was permanent.
Yeah.
Or that was the recommendation from HARB to make it permanent?
Can we go back? I think it's temporary. I did hear something about permanent.
Yeah, I thought it was temporary.
Oh, the picture guy.
Come on up, picture guy.
Yeah.
The picture guy.
We didn't want you to show up and not have anything to do, so.
You did like the pictures, just right. Paul Pageant here representing the hotel and the restaurant. There was a discussion at HARB. HARB's recommendation, our preference is to make it permanent. Most of them in the borough are permanent. That's our preference. HARB made that recommendation. We endorse it. It's quite attractive, and pulling it in and out is going to affect its suitability, its sturdiness, its safety, all those things. So we have asked for a permanent railing.
I'm good with permanent.
Is this,
I'm fine with permanent.
may I ask if this is actually wrought iron or is it just aluminum with powder coating on it?
I didn't understand what you said, ma'am.
I said, is the material used
So there
wrought
was some,
iron or is it aluminum with a?
no,
powder
it
coat on
is steel / wrought iron. It's wrought iron is a historical product, which
Right.
it's steel, but it's going to look like wrought iron. It's not hollow. It's not aluminum. It's going to be in concert with the rest of the first class nature of the hotel. And that's what the application was.
Any other questions, comments? Looks great. Thank you. Any public comments? Permanent.
I'm for
Per-
permanent.
Permanent.
All right, we'll move that to consent. And other business, motion to approve contract for human resource consulting services.
Good evening. Typically, we'd circulate this through the ACT committee, but I still wanted to have another meeting with staff and this potential consultant, and I couldn't get it on the ACT committee agenda in time. So what this is a contract for a part-time interim human resource support person, somebody who has 20+ years experience that we've met and talked about our needs. This person would handle onboarding and offboarding of employees, recruiting right now, which we do have some active recruitments. We do have some employees coming on board shortly, one in the police department, our social workers starting. We have a couple interns, one who just started and one who's starting probably the first week of June at this point. This person was also going to help manage our workers' comp claims. We have 3 current open claims. And so there's a lot of paperwork and checking in that has to happen with those leaves of absences, benefits changes, questions that come from retirees. So basically all of the administrative work that makes up our HR function. And then this person is going to evaluate our current practice and then give us a recommendation for what we need staffing wise going forward, so we can settle into the new plan.
So is the contract available that we can review tonight and discuss?
Yeah, I think we
tomorrow?
posted it online
Oh, okay.
as
I
attachment.
didn't
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah, it's with Keystone Partners and Company. It references a letter dated May 7th addressed to me. The scope of work would be interim HR support up to 15 to 20 hours per week. And they go over a few things here: talent acquisition, performance management, job descriptions, employee relations, day-to-day HR operations, which is really what I need right now, to be honest with you. Spending a lot of my time right now just dealing with things like, there's been a lot of babies. I don't know if you know about this. There's been a lot of babies born in the organization lately. So there's been a lot of life change events happening. So we've got to make sure we're all ready for that. I'd like to start this person Tuesday, May 27th. We've talked about that start date. And the hourly rate is $165 per hour for this work. Just for comparison's sake, our attorneys at 205. Go ahead.
What do you expect to be the amount in total? Like, what's your forecast that we're going to use 165 an hour? How many weeks?
How long is this person going to be here? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm asking more, how much money do you think it's going to cost for us to have this person for as long as you think you need this person?
Low end would be $15,000 to $20,000. High end could be double that.
So this would be in the budget in terms of the salary of the former HR.
Yes, from a bottom line budget perspective, but I do what my finance director tells me to. And she does not want me expensing third party support like through temp agencies or consultants like this to salary expense items. So what would have normally expensed to a salary expense item for the HR function in the past is not happening right now. And we're going to expense this to HR expenses, which we might be over budget by year end, but the bottom line budget for administration would reflect that balance because we're not spending on a salary right now, but I do what Barb tells me to. She doesn't want any of those expenses in salary. Is that right?
Understood.
But my follow-up question, and it's the same as Ms. Shimoni's, is how many weeks do you anticipate this person? Because on the low end at 165 at 15 hours is $2,475 a week. At the high end, it's $3,300.
I'm saying it could be anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks right now.
8 to 16 weeks.
Yeah, 2 to 4 months.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put this on discussion for tomorrow night or table it to go back to committee. Either one, because this item, as Mr. Metrick mentioned, didn't go through committee. And we're breaking our first policy of the ACT committee of reviewing topics at least twice or once that has to go through a committee. So either we can put it on discussion or I'd like to table it to go back to committee.
Well, my preference would be to put it on discussion for tomorrow. I mean, there is some urgency to it because there's a gap in having these things done. As Mr. Metrick stated, he wanted to get somebody in by the 27th. So, we have employees that have and workers' comp issues.
But my problem is
Understood.
the balloon just dropped. We saw it because we knew it was coming. The balloon dropped, but that was not the policy that Mr. Travis spent 6 months hammering through. And to Ms. Simone, right?
Yeah.
I'll eventually get it right. And Mr. McGinnis is that it's an open-ended question. and it could be, the person could make almost as much as you, Sean, in a half of a calendar year. So I got a problem with that.
Can I ask a question? Can we have a side-by-side of a fully loaded salary versus an hourly rate for the equivalent? Fully loaded would be benefits, anything else. So we can have some sort of an equivalent comparison between what we would have paid our HR director and this person as a temp. That might be helpful, but for tomorrow.
In my math, I'm just going through the calculator, the minimum would be anywhere from $19,800 to the maximum, if it was, those weeks would be 52,000
That's a lot of money for a part-time job.
for that short period of time.
Yeah, for a part-time job. That's way too expensive. So it's on discussion, hopefully. For more.
So may I ask this? This is a consulting agency you're trying to use for this particular issue. Well, do any of our lawyers that are already on retainer, do they have HR lawyers that could do essentially the same thing?
I do. Yeah. For
But at what rate?
$400 an hour.
Say that.
For
what-
$400 an hour.
At 400 an hour.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem to be the most reasonable answer, and this is a short-term answer, I understand, to a big-term problem, that I know it's important for you to get this work done as soon as possible, because like you said, babies aren't stopping because we don't have the answers here. But I would have to say we need to have another look at this quickly.
So we'll have a discussion for tomorrow evening. Okay. Next, other business item, we want to talk about the Lafayette parade.
Well, your parade seems cheap now. It's only 7,000.
Yeah. Barb, can you help us with the boards and commissions? Because I do remember most of the information. And I don't believe any other boards and commissions have actually used any of the funding this year.
So the 2025 budget for the boards and commissions was $10,000, and we have spent year to date through April 30th, $480. So we have about $9,500 left in that line item. I will say that is used sporadically throughout the year for other commissions as well, but assuming that the cost for the parade are around $7,000, we should have around $2,500 for any other expenses that any other commissions may need.
How do you divide that up, though? Because it's not a lump sum that just whatever commission gets to the money pot first gets to use it. How do you divide that up between all the commissions?
It's generally sort of on a first come, first served basis. The majority of the expenses that we run through there are for, trainings and different things for different members to go to different trainings. That's normally the only things that we have run through that line item.
So
I'm just, that's a solution if, that's what you want to move forward with.
And one other question. I can understand us contributing to this, but how much is the Historical Commission going to contribute? It has to be mutual, sir.
We're not at the fundraising. Historical Commission, like any other commission in the borough, we're not at the fundraising.
They're a member of our boards and commissions, so they're not allowed to go get money.
Yeah, so we don't fundraise. That's why we always come to you. For example, for the borough's anniversary, we were hoping that there might be, the past council might have said something to encourage a nonprofit group to form. That never happened. You came to the rescue and gave us some things for the anniversary. Let me just comment right now. We originally started this thing out on Union Street. Then we talked about going from Minor Street. The paperwork you now have is from Market Street. Our events are smaller. We don't have staff and people that can put together big events. So I don't really want to spend the money and police time and that amount of money for this right now. I would rather modify, continue working with Keith, Ramsey, and the police, modify and do something shorter and cheaper, but will still give us an event and some publicity for Lafayette Day. And we have a couple of other events, one which will hopefully be indoors at the historic courthouse. We'll need maybe $600 there for the music. And we're hoping to have a short in the evening event at the plant store with Lafayette hanging out the window. Again, no cost, and so on, so on. So I really, I'll answer your questions while we're here, but I really don't want to spend the police time and the service people's time of getting trucks in place and all that. We'll try and come up with a modification and get back to you and so on. We'll just keep working with Keith on and modify the original work that we've turned in to the departments. I think is a better way to go because our events are smaller. You know, we're not doing something on the scale of the Christmas parade or up on the roof where we can advertise and have all kinds of people come. Our events tend to be smaller events that give the borough some publicity. And if we can tie in with anybody else, we will. If anybody wants to come aboard and sponsor, we will. We did have a meeting here, a subcommittee meeting already with a potential sponsor for some parade activities. Oh, we haven't gotten our carriage lined up yet. So that's another thing. If we don't get the carriage, we may just do a walking event that would require no policing at all. So that's where I would like to leave it, but I will answer any of your questions about any of the things that I've sent you. And if
Would, thank you for that. Thank you for be willing to scale down and back.
thank you.
I appreciate that. One other question. Did you say the Lafayette impersonator is coming to town that day?
We have one, but Bruce Malday has indicated that they have 4 coming in from the national organization. I don't know whether all 4 of them are going to be at Brandywine and Thornbury Farm before us. And they may end up walking around town, but we will have one of them for our use through the national organization. And if not, we have a gentleman who is French speaking. He's Swiss, but he's French speaking that we had lined up, and we've used him before up on Lafayette Street. So we do have people that we can use, and we have somebody to be George Washington Lafayette. I believe he's a teacher in the school district or the university. And we have some other events that are on that list, if I quickly may. We'll be at Greenmount Cemetery for the annual West Goshen Westchester Cemetery Tour at Greenmount. That's a rotational event. Next year it's Oakland's. The year after that, it's Chestnut Grove, and then it goes back to Greenmount. It's on the 30th always, unless Memorial Day happens to fall on the 30th of our modern time period. On June 12th, for the 31st year, the borough is a co-sponsor of the Town Tour Kickoff, and that'll be at Holy Trinity. And there's no cost there right now. I think the county may provide the water. There could be a token less than $50 water cost or something like that. And then the Lafayette events. But at this point, I would just like to, if it's all right with you, modify and come up with something that fits the size of the group, and it may even reduce the group because we did have some trouble. One of our people worked on trying to get the Westchester area Girl Scout leaders information. They won't give it to us. We would have to then send something to them because we were originally trying to get about 200 to 250 Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to march. We'll still work on that, but we've got to figure all this out yet, and we have time to do it. The key problem had been meeting the police deadline for blocking traffic and so on. So we may end up with no blockage of traffic, or if we start at the location that I'm thinking of, we may have a 5-minute rolling block on High Street, 1 block, and then go out Washington and maybe just block off the 1 block of Lafayette Street and hold our event up there. It'll be a minimal cost. And we had sent the borough, our commission sends the borough a budget every year. You get it every year. We set aside, last year, we suggested you set aside $2,000. So we want to try and stay in the $2,000 and $3,000 range if we can. It could be a tad more, it could be less, and so on. So those are some of my thoughts this evening, speaking on what we came up with, because I had not had a figure yet, because I was dealing with the fact the police didn't want to give us a figure until you approved. And I couldn't live with that. If the figure was $15,000, no. If the figure's even $3,000, we'd like to know the figure in advance. And the figure right now for the size of our event, I think, is too high.
Thank you. I think you have the appropriate, idea, but go back to the drawing board
Yes.
and work with
We
Keith.
will do that and work with Keith Ramsey and the gentleman from the police department. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very
Tom.
much.
I
Tom.
just wanted,
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. I want the real Lafayette and I want the Swiss Lafayette, all right? The real deal.
Well,
All
we
right.
may get him for you.
All right,
so
there we
long
go.
as he
We'll come to
speaks
your
French.
house maybe.
Yeah.
Long as he speaks French. I was going to just say that I love the horse and carriage idea. And those usually run about 1,500.
Yes, so I
But
have.
they sometimes come with their own spotters on either side.
Yeah, I
as
did
well.
not hear back from him today. I called him late today and
Okay.
so on and so on. Oh, I want to remind you that June 12th, you'll be getting an invite from the county
Okay.
to speak at the town tour kickoff.
Okay. So now I
Holy
talked
Trinity.
one time too many. That you
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, folks. Thank you.
But what you should do is start at the historical courthouse and go just to Lafayette Street. And because most of the time they only
Now,
go,
we
they
may.
go a mile.
Yeah,
They're
well,
2 miles max.
yeah, but the policing and blockage and so on, even though the street is blocked, Gage Street is blocked.
Or the History Center to Lafayette Street, because
Mhm.
that's a short stride.
Yeah.
History Center to
We'll
Lafayette.
we'll work on something up in that neck of the woods. We're working on the faux dinner inside the courthouse again, which you will be part of on the 26th.
Do you need the money for the faux dinner?
No
Yeah,
food.
Like Chick-fil-A.
Pretend.
Mayor, we're not going, we're going to get Butcher to come
All
and
right.
and cook.
Thank you.
Get every butcher to come and cook.
All right. Is there any other business?
I do have other business because it's interesting that this conversation came up regarding parade and also money that's set aside for these events. And Mr. Metric and I were talking about this. And we had that discussion, the finance about the Christmas parade. And one of the ideas that was brought up, I made mention to Ms. Shimoni as well as Mr. Travis on that committee, is that since, Westchester is big on the Christmas parade, I do think that there should be a discussion, maybe put in the budget for years to come, about us being a sponsor for that parade in cooperation with those that run the parade, the Chamber of Commerce. So I just wanted to see what that would do. Because again, if we're already have money out for, these commissions to do their type of events, we should have that honest discussion about what we could be doing with the Westchester Christmas Parade in cooperation with the chamber.
And that discussion, Brian, is going to happen. I've started that a couple prior to your statement at council, because every year it's a lengthy discussion. And as Katie has said, every year she comes back and, 2 or 3 times with requests. So I'd like to see something a little more stabilized than what's happening now from year to year to year. So I don't know if, to me, sponsors says a lot of money, and I don't know if that's the term we should be using, but I think we should certainly stabilize it and make it have some permanence to it. And so there, that is already discussion in the works. And I've been getting the figures to see what we've done for the last 3 years. So to
And
your,
so
to
is
your
that
point.
something, Mayor, that's going to come back to committee in June?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it should come back to the finance committee that
Uh,
we
It's
work
going to
out.
have to
We-
come back to the whole council. Yes, absolutely.
Right, but it would have to come through the finance committee
Well,
with that.
duh.
And I think that we need to have a public discussion because we do have 2 members that aren't here. I don't know who else has weighed in or who hasn't weighed in. I know we've had
To that
discussions.
point, we were notified that there's going to be a meeting next week and that certain people were selected to attend the meeting. I did look at the attendee list, and I thought that the chair of public safety and the chair of finance, because they're the 2 that are most affected by the discussions, have to go back to their committees. Instead of having, we're only allowed to have 3 people there based on a quorum. So my feeling is that the chair of finance, the chair of public safety should definitely be there. And I don't know how the president and vice president, pick who they wants to go or not, but it sits on their committees. So it's best they hear the thing firsthand instead of secondhand the chairs. That's my thought.
Agreed. I don't know. I can't say that I know who's on. I know I am on the invitation list and I accepted. I don't remember who else on council.
I'm on
Yeah.
it too.
Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think-
I
I think
public
you were on it,
safety.
Bernie, but then you said you were out.
Way.
Right.
Yeah, we're
You're
away.
away.
Yeah.
So-
And so Lisa, I
So-
think, was
Right.
agreed to be on it.
Yeah.
So me, Lisa. and
Because that's part of
Yeah.
your committee, right? Right.
That's what I was saying.
So it was the president and the vice president of council,
Yeah,
and
Correct.
it was yourself.
right.
But now that you're not going to be there, I think it's going to be Lisa, isn't she?
Well,
pub-
yeah,
Isn't she
like I said,
public
it goes through the public safety is
Right.
number 1.
And she's
And then
public
the second
safety.
thing is finance.
She's
'Cause
public safety, right?
Yeah, huh?
She's public safety. right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So the outcome of this meeting will be something that we bring back to public safety and finance. And it will
Absolutely.
be discussed one way or another at 2 committees and at full council next month.
Absolutely.
You okay with that, Mr. Travis?
Absolutely.
Thing working. I have some opinions about all this event funding and I would like to weigh in on it. I think we stopped funding events. We made a lot of people upset. I think we need to McGinnis's point, I think we need to start budgeting line items for anything that has a significant amount. I do think that we should be part of our signature events. It's what people come to, and it gives people a reason to want to come into town. One of the reasons why I'm still here, why I live here, why I wanted to be sitting up here right now.
So you will certainly have
I-
opportunity to weigh in.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Obviously, we can't have a quorum at attending the
Sure,
meeting.
sure.
So these people will bring it back to the committees and we'll come back to work session and voting session next month.
Proper channels. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Which
Any
it
other business?
Always was going to go through proper channels.
Any other business? Okay, we are adjourned at 7:31. Thank you.